Welcome to another episode of Humans for Humanity. Some stories don't begin with triumph. They begin with loss so profound, it rewrites what survival even means. This is Humans for Humanity, a living archive of those who refused to be defined by what was taken. And today's guest is one of those rare forces not here to perform resilience, but to embody what it means to live beyond the limits the world expects. This is the reckoning of the light born from the ashes. Mandy Glaus, known as the Way of Truth Tarot, didn't just lose mobility. She lost an entire version of herself and chose to dismantle the illusion of healing that wasn't her truth. In a moment that could have ended her, she made a radical move. 4 hours away, toward love, toward a life that would demand her full becoming. What followed was not a return to the old self, but the birth of something no doctor, no circumstance, no doubt could touch. Mandy now lives what many would call impossible, manifesting a life she once dreamed of for her mother and for herself. But more than the life is the sight she carries now. A vision owned way beyond the veil. A knowing that no body, no past, no loss defines the soul. So as you listen, remember, this is not a story about what was lost. It's a masterclass in what can be built when you stop asking for permission to exist. Welcome to the reckoning, welcome to the rising, and welcome, Mandy. Let's begin.
Thank you so much for having me here. This is an absolute honor. Blows my mind.
You're about to blow everybody else's mind, so it's only fitting. Talk about learning to build diligently through something that was lost that you could not avoid the reality of.
It took a while because I had so many other things I needed to focus on, but I would get these, this feeling would never go away, and I would get these hints, and it would always just present itself. And I recognized it, and it's so hard to articulate, but I recognized that feeling. I knew it so well. It was something that I've been carrying through incarnation. And it was like slow and steady wins the race, just like with the Knight of Pentacles. That's always what I say when that knight comes up. Slow and steady wins the race. Feeling and knowing that what I was experiencing is not why I'm here.
Right. So in that regard, talk about how you learned to seek clarity when clarity was not readily available. Talk about the journey of how do I seek it when I can't find it externally.
So I tried so many years seeking externally, and every time I did, it's like, okay, I would learn the hard way. And then one day I realized when I ask a question in my head, I answer myself. What is that? I have all of the answers. And it was through falling on my face and being disappointed when the external world would not give me what I was seeking. And once I finally was like, okay, this isn't working, I removed myself from every external thing, and I just sat with myself. And when you're sitting with yourself, you by nature, you start to get to know yourself, right? And it was needing to be comfortable with my own energy and the isolation to find and to recognize that I have all of the answers. I always have. It's just I was looking in the wrong places. I was looking externally and not within. We have all the answers. We know ourselves better, than anybody else can know us.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we have parent, child, and some cycles that need to be broken. What could you say to that effect?
How did I know that was going to come up? I thought that it was a given that when you are a parent, that you naturally want the best for your child and that you'll do anything to give them that. And I knew that very well with my mom. However, my father, it was like what he said did not match up with what I was feeling. I could always sense, like, why is his face crunching up when I'm telling him how much better I am and all of these gateways I'm unlocking and this new life. And he would meet me with, well, I didn't find that. Like, I needed to realize that just because he's my parent does not mean that he is ready to be a parent and is able to be a parent, because he's still a child himself. And it got to the point where I persevered through our relationship and was met with just fights every single time. And not taking accountability for his actions that are aiding to this issue. And I'm not saying that I was no better, because he triggered the crap out of me. So I would lose control. I'm a very emotionally balanced person, but with him, I'm not. And that really was like a mirror for me. I'm like, he's triggering me because there's something that I'm seeing in him, and I'm reminding him of everything that he hates about himself.
Right.
And I had to make the decision, I don't want it this way, and I don't want to hurt him anymore from lashing out. So I had to make the executive decision and say, look, I'm not doing this anymore. We're not going anywhere. We're just spiraling, and I'm not doing this. And he came back being like, ever since you've done your work, the therapy and the work, I find you a lot more angry and intolerant. I'm like, yeah, towards you, because you're not giving the love. I'm intolerant for your behavior because your behavior is wrong.
Right.
This is me finally claiming my power, and that I'm no longer that scared little girl that's going to cower when you rage on me anymore. I'm just not. Just because you are my father does not give you the right to treat me that way.
Absolutely.
And I'm making the executive decision for the both of us. I said, and I'm doing this out of love. This is why I'm doing this, because I don't want to fight with you anymore. And I want a better relationship, because we are so similar. There's a lot of good traits to him, but he needed that, so one of us, I knew that he wasn't going to come to that decision. I had to. Ever since I did that, all the blockages that I had that I couldn't never understand where they were coming from, I realized they weren't my blockages. They were his blockages that I was carrying. And when I said no more, I made room for amazing things in my life. And I'm hoping that that was the push that he needed to start doing the inner work for himself so he could live the best life that he possibly can.
That was a really good line when you said, I'm intolerant of your behavior because your behavior is wrong. That's hard for a lot of people to that's right. That is a right way to look at it. But people still look at it as if that's wrong or that's selfish. It's not. I'm intolerant of your behavior because your behavior is wrong. That's okay. That's a correct boundary to put in place.
Yeah. And that's not me overreacting. That's just me seeing things for how they are. No emotions. Just not doing it anymore.
Talk about then that shadow and how you learned to trust your own discernment when it comes to other people on the other side of lifting that shadow. Like when it comes to how that wound affected you, now that you have identified the source of the shadow, taken action to heal that shadow, how can you show up differently now because of what your discernment has taught you?
Oh, yeah. So it gave me the confidence to know that all of those inner voices, that all the answers that I had inside, once I started to integrate them and act on them, what I was getting back was positive results. And how I learned to discern it in other people was like, if I can sense manipulation in any way then that is my indication that that's not something that I want in my energy. It's really hard to articulate because through my whole life, when people would lie or put on a mask and act some way that I know that just wasn't them, it would give me this like weird feeling where, okay, so like if I were to describe this feeling, it's like awkward. You know what I mean? Just like, I can see right through you. I'm embarrassed for you. I get this icky feeling. And growing up, it was so confusing because when adults would lie, I would get that feeling and I would confront them about it. And they would tell me something different. And because they're adults, I automatically assumed they had their shit together and they knew everything. And I'm just like, why isn't this adding up? So you know what? It screwed with me because it made me distrust those feelings. Then when I got older and I started to see that it was the same stuff, but I'm no longer seeing it from a child's point of view. I'm seeing it from an adult with experience. I'm seeing like the reality of their life and how like they're so dysfunctional. And I'm like, yeah, I correlated the dysfunction with the mask and with the lies and with the perceptions that society and our family puts on us, all of that. I could automatically see right through it. And then I had to learn, you know what? I don't need fake people in my life to make me feel whole. I am much better with none of them than a whole room full of liars.
Do you feel like the father wound caused you to have to go on this one particular journey of learning how to retake back your own authority when it comes to other people?
Absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. And you know what? What was really funny, and this just proves my love for him, is that I removed all the other people first and him last.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to hurt him. Because I know that emotionally, he's very like a child emotionally. And he's already suffering. But this was, I feel like, a blessing in disguise for him. And I really am, this was a few months ago, and I'm really praying, and I gave him all the tools that helped me. And I was like, reach out to me if you have questions. But other than that, we're taking a break.
Right. You took that authority back.
I had to. Yeah.
From the source that initially caused you to disconnect from it in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's interesting is that, like I was saying earlier, when I finally made that choice and acted upon it, all of these other things that I had always been blocked from, so like stuff to do with like money and business, just not having the energy flow that way, like abundance issues, I guess what it is. Soon as I did that, it was like the next day that everything unblocked itself.
It's so funny because I know you didn't even look at the card yet, and you just described the card that's on the screen. The shamed dreamer. Punished for wanting more than survival.
Yep.
This wound arises when your hopes, visions, or desires are met with mockery, dismissal, or fear. You're told to be realistic, to be grateful, or to stay small. It can leave you suppressing your dreams, settling for less, or fearing that reaching for more makes you unworthy or ungrateful.
Oh my God. Yes. Holy crap. Yes. I have always had giant dreams. Giant dreams. And that part of me is what allowed me to beat the odds every spinal cord surgery, having to literally walk from scratch, lifting one leg in front of the other. I did that 3 times, lost both my feet, started to walk immediately. As soon as I was in the prosthetics, I pushed everybody away. I'm like, I've been sitting for 6 months. Let me freaking walk. And it was that was a spiritual gift I incarnated with specifically because I knew I needed it with all of the stuff that I was going to experience. And yeah, growing up, my mom was just like, because, you know, she just wanted the best for me. And she saw how outgoing I was. And she was just like, the world is cruel. I don't want the world to snuff out this light. And so she tried so hard to protect me in so many ways. But I was like, Mom, you're hindering me. Like, I know it's coming from a good place, but I'm strong. I can handle this. And I just kept going with it. I was like, even in my darkest days when I was so disconnected from everything, I still knew that it would eventually turn around. And it's like this unwavering faith and knowing. And I'm very blessed that I was able to maintain that through my whole life, no matter what challenge and no matter how impossible it seemed. And I don't know if I can even give myself credit for that because like it was just always something I had. I don't know. I mean, I have to give myself, my soul credit for that, but it's not something that I cultivated as a human in my experience. It was something I brought from lifetime after lifetime and from the spirit into this world.
So let's go in that direction then. What's one thing, we're going to flip over one card at a time. What's one thing that you feel like was innately embedded in you because your soul knew before coming here that it was going to go through some very difficult times? Page of Wands in reverse.
Oh, strength, warrior spirit. And I've always gravitated to service type jobs. I never could do them because of my physical disability the way I wanted to. The idea of being a medic and dodging bullets and saving a life at the same time, that's my love language. Like, food, like that gives me energy. And I'm so good under pressure, clear-headed, no ADHD issues, and it was that warrior type spirit energy that I brought into this world. And I have a theory of where it came from. It was that strength. It was knowing that the light that I had inside of me was so powerful that I could beat any three-dimensional odds because, okay, I have a theory about why I have spina bifida and everything. So I feel like my soul originates from a very, like a higher dimensional plane in between 6D and 8D dimensions. You can have a physical body if you want to. Basically, I identify as a starseed, a extraterrestrial soul that purposely came on this earth to help it. And so to just follow the prime directive of non-interference, we figured a loophole. Well, we're going to incarnate and help from the inside out. And because my soul came from such a high frequential place, when I incarnated, my mom's frequency was just naturally lower than mine, and that disrupted the nervous system and caused a deformation. But I knew that going in. I knew that that was going to happen because I understand the energy, And what's interesting is my zodiac sign is a Taurus, and I am such a Taurus. And I had to incarnate on that energetic highway, so to speak, because that is the energy I came into this world with.
Okay, so same thing for Magician in reverse, something that you didn't need to learn, but was just embedded in you.
Oh, seeing the purpose and the usefulness in everything, even if it's broken, I will repurpose it and make it a different version of itself, but a little bit different, but just as functional.
Right. Yeah, that's a good way to look at that one. 8 of Wands, communication.
Yeah. So I was given the gift of being able to articulate myself very well. I'm really good with analogies. I've always been the type of person that can explain something to somebody, even if it's a very complex subject matter, and present it in a way that they can understand and relate to. It's like I could be in a room full of executive businessmen and come out their buddy, all of them. I can also walk into, in high school, I had friends in every group. Like I said, when I just said, I see the usefulness and the purpose and the light and everything that really applies to humans. And that is exactly what I'm using my Way of Truth platform to do, is to help people get in touch with their authentic self. Because once you are operating in your authentic reality, then you're no longer fighting against the universe and things just become so much easier. We don't have to be working so hard for so little. We just have to understand how to work within our energy fields. And that's something that was never taught to us for a reason, to purposely keep the people down, I believe. But it's another rabbit hole.
Let's go down the direction then of just that stability, security. What is a decision you had to make behind the scenes so that you could reestablish some kind of stability or security?
Oh, so I'm such a girly at heart. I love shopping. I love makeup. I love all that stuff. When you're dealing with lower vibrational feeling like pain all the time and stress all the time, and when I did get money and after all my bills were paid, I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I deserve something, so I'm gonna do it. Once I healed and I started getting once I started to really connect with people and recognize how much I'm making a difference in people's lives, I didn't feel the need to shop anymore or do anything. And so it was that very practical thing. I don't have the money to do that yet. This is another lesson that I maybe put off for the end. I did all the hard stuff first. Yeah, it's just being responsible and looking at money in a whole new light, because I saw money as extremely scarce, that it was extremely hard to get. And when you're living on disability for most of your life and you can't work a regular 3D job as much as you want to because of your disability, it's like I just kept my head above water. And so it was just really hard to learn how to see money as energy and have more intention with it, just like I do in everything else. So it was that little change behind the scenes that it gave me more room to be able to start making that foundation for myself that I could stand on financially, so that my business could be well, right?
What's something you would say to someone watching who wants to do that, who wants to rewrite the way that they are viewing money and view it as energy instead of as this anchor or burden? Knight of Wands in reverse.
View everything as an energy exchange. You want something and nothing is for free. Nothing of value is for free. So actually view it as investment into yourself. It's an investment. View purchases as, what am I truly getting out of it besides the object itself? Is this a tool that's going to help me create something? Give yourself a moment to just stop and think and ask yourself what your intentions are with this purchase. That 30 seconds of thought is going to be very valuable to you. And at the end of the 30 seconds, you may have an idea oh yeah, there was this other thing that I forgot about that I actually want to do. It's not going anywhere. Don't view something. What's yours is yours and will always be yours. So if you don't have the money right then and there, that's okay. If it's meant to be yours, you let it go, it'll come back to you.
And when you do that, you can also catch yourself in, am I just trying to numb myself by purchasing this? That's where you can also catch yourself.
Giving it that little bit of thought instead of acting on the impulse without thinking, because that's what I used to do. And man, was I kicking myself a day. Not even. That later that day, I'm like, again, I did it. Because that feeling of, the excitement of wanting to have that purchase and fill something, that is an indication that there's imbalance inside of you. That's addiction behavior. That's what that is. I don't want to compensate one addiction for another.
Right. King of Cups.
Being emotionally balanced. And this is feel your feelings. Do not dismiss them, because they don't go away. Energy cannot be destroyed. It just changes form. And what happens over time is it changes form and it seeps into your physical body. So I would say, feel your emotions. There's no shame in being angry, but don't dwell in the anger. Almost be like a sieve. You feel them and they drop down and they go back into the earth. So in an emotional situation, try to see the sieve, be the sieve, you are the sieve.
And if you are finding yourself emotionally spending, look at the root. What is that? What are you distracting yourself away from?
Yeah.
Two of Swords in reverse. Decision making.
Yeah. So when we have that inner conflict with ourselves, because we're not confident in ourselves and in the choice that we know we want to make, I get a lot of clients that ask me a question, but they already know the answer to it, but they're like blind to it. So trusting that you have all the answers, you don't need any external force to tell you what your truth is. And so once you can embody that, then decisions are very easy because you just follow your truth. Mark Twain, it's a quote from Mark Twain. You don't have to remember the truth, right? So that's where I feel is like standing by your truth. And when you need to heal that wound, I mean, yeah, it takes time because if you've had a lifetime of people telling you you're wrong, you start to believe it. So it's a tough journey. But, you know, the more you start doing it, the faster it speeds up. It's like, oh, yeah, of course. How could I forget this? Yeah, just not being afraid to speak and follow your truth.
Talk about what belief system it was most difficult to release or let go of.
Oh, that I can create the life that I want. And I don't know where I was convinced that I didn't have the power, because just like the odds I overcame with my disability, that was proof in and of itself that I could create anything. So it's like you need to zoom out and look at your life from a higher perspective and not from close up emotional. Then you see things for what they are. You see how you've overcome so many things. And that is proof that you had a thought in your head. You had a vision that you worked towards and you made it happen. And that's all the process is. It doesn't matter what you're trying to reach, whether you think it's more unattainable than another thing. It's a thing is a thing is a thing. And it works all the same way. Not judging. That's a big thing. Not judging what you think is attainable or not.
What's one thing then that you would say to the version of yourself before you corrected that mindset when it comes to codependency?
Oh, you are the one that you and only you are the one that has allowed you to beat the odds. Only you. Nobody else. Don't give credit where it's not due.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people struggle with that because they feel like taking the credit for work that they've done comes with a level of
selfishness.
Yes, or ego. So what would you say then to those people in regard to overcoming a learning curve as it pertains to how to view pain?
Oh, finding the purpose in the suffering. It's not for nothing. There's lessons and there's value in it. I am so grateful for every single hardship I have ever had because we don't evolve without suffering. Look at the birth process. It's so painful, but it's life-giving. We're not here for a free ride. We incarnated on this planet to level up spiritually. This is like university boot camp for spirits.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
So I would say you don't have to like the pain, but you need to accept it in those moments. Just persevere through it. It's temporary. It's all temporary. And the value you're going to get out of it at the end, if you choose to see it that way, actually, no, if you choose to grab it, because it's always going to be there, it's just going to give you that healing that you need to rejuvenate yourself after that period. Find the lessons in it, because when you find the lessons and you learn the lessons, you're not going to experience that anymore.
So let's take that literally then. Where on earth you now are a teacher? I'm going to flip over one card at a time. What is the name of one class that you feel would be in this earth school, the world?
Healing the world starts with healing ourselves. If everybody in the whole planet would start looking inwards, we can fix the external issues all day long, and and there's a reason it's not working, because the people running these are still so broken inside.
Yeah.
We need to start healing ourselves before the whole world is going to be healed. Because we're all connected and we're all part of this grand tapestry.
9 of Cups.
Getting to know your authentic self so you are emotionally full. Knowing what your boundaries are so you're no longer overgiving or overcompensating, wasting valuable energy. You're no longer seeing things in a scarcity way. And knowing that I don't shine if you don't shine.
Yes. Four of Swords in reverse.
Sanctuary, finding the sanctuary, finding the time to rest and recharge your battery, because how can you show up for the people you love when you're running in the negative? So learning to give back to yourself for the greater good.
So let's take it towards a graduation event. I'm going to flip over the next three cards. Talk about what it takes to graduate from the student becomes the teacher. Talk about what it's going to take for that transition.
Okay. So taking off the blinders and realizing that you can be the teacher and the student at the same time, because you never stop learning. I teach to learn. That's why.
Yeah, that was a perfect answer. So in that transition then, being the teacher who is still also the student, talk about how it's okay to sometimes be more one than the other. Like it's okay to become the teacher and then have a certain season where you are more so a student again.
Absolutely. So when I step into a teaching role, I'm teaching on things I have a lot of experience with. When I meet a student that's like, let's say 20 years older than me and has experience in something that I don't have experience in, I take that opportunity to give them power in that they are giving me something and teaching me something. And I don't know everything. And that we can learn through each other's experiences. So when the students that will come into your existence are the ones that are at your level, the more you learn, your students change too. Evolution at the same time. Because growing up, when I had a teacher that acted like a know-it-all, it turned me off of everything. I had no respect for them. I was like, you're not giving me any confidence. You're not making me feel that I have the power to be like you someday. I'm a kid, or just because I'm younger does not mean I don't have value and I can't teach you something.
Absolutely. Talk about then, how do you feel like people lose that? Like what do you feel like causes people to want to put themselves above the students as opposed to still being on that same level?
Because they're not in it to truly teach, they're in it to get recognition. And therefore, if you're not truly in it to teach, then you're not gonna teach that well. Right? And people, like, whether they realize what they're seeing, they feel it. They're just not going to like you and they won't know why. And then they're going to put more judgment on you and expectations, and you're setting yourself up for disaster. And it's okay. Maybe you're feeling, oh, I have to be a teacher for some reason. So this is an indication that you need to get back in touch with something that was lost. You're not on your path, and that's okay. There's no shame in that. There's no shame in doing something that you're not cut out for. There's no shame in it. Find something that you are cut out for.
Talk about that switch then. For those who are sitting here like, you know what, I'm not where I need to be, but they're having trouble accepting the surrender and changing course. Talk about the importance that it makes to be in alignment.
So when you're not working within your own energy, you're fighting against a current. And it's never going to ease up for you because the energy is just not flowing right. You're fighting yourself. And it takes time. I always say everything is all in divine timing. So don't put an expectation on how long you think it's going to take or how long you think it should take, because everybody is different and learn things at a different pace. And your experiences are contributing to why it's taking longer. You just need more time. You have patience and compassion for yourself. That is so important, because you're, again, just fighting yourself if you're frustrated that you're not evolving as fast as you think you should.
Let's talk about timing then, because for you, timing has been frustrating because it's been a lot of hurry up and wait, or do this and then wait. Talk about what timing taught you as it pertains to wanting to be further along, but being stuck where you are. Talk about what timing taught you.
So what it taught me was that it was actual compassion from spirit, being like, we're not going to give you anything you cannot handle. You're on the right track and you see it and you want it so bad because you know it's so attainable. It's just all in divine timing. You have some more experiences that you need in order for you to be ready for this. We're never going to give you something you can't handle. So be grateful for that, actually. And in the moment, you can put yourself in a situation, be like, okay, say the floodgates open and I'm getting all the business that I desperately want right now. Will I be able to do it to the best of my abilities, or am I going to be dropping all the balls and essentially self-sabotaging everything because I'm impatient? So asking myself questions like that when these feelings arise, explore these feelings. Don't just be frustrated that you have them and then pass them off. These feelings are presenting themselves to you so you can dive deep into them and figure stuff out. They're opportunities.
Let's talk about that then. Feelings as opportunities, specifically in regard to learning how to take any next right action when you aren't sure what those actions are leading to, but you know that you need to take some action.
Learning to love the journey. It's all about the journey and not the destination. So getting comfortable with the unknown, knowing that as long as I follow my heart, as long as I'm following something that lights my soul up, it's never going to lead me astray. Following on things that give you anxiety, well, that will lead you astray. So learning to recognize these feelings is, again, not nuisances and not being a symptom of being broken, but a compass. Those feelings are your compass, your North Star.
I like that line, not a symptom of being broken. I feel like that's something that you had to learn how to perceive correctly because you were kind of up against the odds in that regard. So let's talk about confidence as it pertains to getting news that you could not change the answer of and needing to strategize a way to still get to the goal despite news that wasn't in your favor.
Oh, thinking outside the box. And you know what's really interesting is my body actually did that in the womb. Where my tailbone was supposed to be, I had a cluster of bones that were just there. My spine decided, oh, we got a fork in the road. Let's split off. You go that way. I go that way. We go around the bone and we meet at the bottom. If it did not do that, I would be hands down in a wheelchair, nothing you can do about it, as I was born. And the doctors were like, the closest thing we can say that she has is spina bifida, but spina bifida is a very broad term, but they had never seen anything like that before. And that is literally how I have viewed everything. I am a really good problem solver. It comes naturally to me. I love problems because I know I can figure out a way. It's almost like a friendly competition thing. Because I feel like I'm retaining so much of my memory of being in spirit and being like a high frequential being that can create things that we find is magic, but it's really just quantum physics. I see the possibility in the impossible. And that's another gift I came into this world, seeing a solution. It reminds me of that unveiled tarot deck you have. It's like I look at problems and there's a window of clarity that I see through. And it's how I see people too.
Okay, so what's the first line that comes to your mind from your higher self to your current self in regard to how your bones were just like, no, okay, we can't go there. Let's just grow around, like let's quite literally grow around the issue. First thing that comes to mind. Six of Swords in reverse.
Oh, we're gonna cover water. Come on, guys. This is no big deal. We see this as a little stone and a little pebble. Like the power of life force can do that. It's got an intelligence to it. And that was a strategy. It was like the physical embodiment of my life strategy of how this whole existence. And what's interesting is it has to do with the nervous system, the spine, where quite literally is a funnel for energy going up and down. We were like, this girl's energy needs to be able to flow freely up her spine.
Right.
So screw you, bones. Go around you.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's essentially what the blueprint is, that alignment of the chakras down the spine.
Yeah, absolutely.
The hermit in reverse.
Getting excited to get to know yourself, meeting yourself for the first time in total acceptance for your shadow too, because you can't have your light without your shadow. It just doesn't work that way. If you can't accept your shadow and yourself for all of your perfections and imperfections, how are you truly going to be able to give that to another person, even if they're your child? Especially if you're their child, because that child is going to be a mirror to you. So get excited to get to know yourself. You deserve the compassion and the understanding.
Tell me when to stop.
Stop.
What shadow would you say that your bone doing this and being like, no, I'm just going to go around the obstacle? What shadow in your life do you feel like that is symbolically a representation of?
Oh, self-doubt, the belief that I'm not great and that I don't have anything to offer. So we're just going to stop you right here. Don't come past this point. You're not, you don't have the member ID for it.
And your spirit being like, yes, I do.
Yeah. My spirit overrides this 3-dimensional dominion that you think is the only thing that exists.
Inner prosecutor.
Yeah.
Judging yourself before anyone else can. When self-criticism becomes a shield against external harm, you anticipate judgment by turning it inward first, hoping it will hurt less if you deliver the blow.
Absolutely.
It can leave you feeling trapped in harsh inner dialogue, unable to access self-compassion or rest in your own enoughness. Talk about that.
So I have always been my worst critic, because I think it's because I hold myself to a high standard, because I know what I came into this world with. I know my natural state, which is spirit. I know what that's capable of. So I hold myself to a very high standard. And actually, that has served me very well, because it keeps me accountable. What's the saying? With great power comes great responsibility. I really take that seriously. That was actually what terrified me at first. When people are getting my advice on serious life matters and not wanting to make it harder for them, even in, like, obviously not by choice, but by ignorance or naiveness or whatever. But the more I healed my confidence, then it became less about shame and prosecuting myself, and more like, okay, I'm just going to hold you to a very high standard, and I'm going to be like very strict about it, but with love. So it morphed, it changed. And what that told me was it was always there for a good reason. It was just, I was not aligned to see it that way. I saw it, I gave it a bad rap. I judged it without understanding what I was judging.
I very much feel that from start to finish, everything you just said. So let's take it in that direction then. Do you feel as though, okay, that's kind of where I thought this was going to go. Do you feel as though there's some bit of you that was attracted to the true crime arena of tarot because it allowed you to prove to yourself that there was provability in where you were getting this information from?
Absolutely. Plus the problem solving aspect. Plus the science aspect. So yeah, you know what? My mom got me that we share that when Paul Bernardo and Carla Molka happened in Ontario in the 90s. I was 6 and my mom was following the case, and I followed it right alongside of her. For Mother's Day, I bought her the book. And it fascinated me. I was just like, whoa. And I wasn't afraid of it. I never had fear about it. I wanted to understand it. I am the type of person, give me all the information I can about the scariest thing so I can understand it and make sense of it. I've got this curiosity that it overrides all the fear. And so what it allowed was, provability, something that I could absolutely verify through science. And then when I started realizing that like actual police officers use psychics, I was like, well, yeah, like that. I just thought that was amazing and I loved it. And it made so much sense to me. Like we had this problem solving organ called the pineal gland right inside our head. All of us do. We can all do this. And a lot of detectives actually have it really turned on. That's what their hunches are. They just don't see it that way.
Let's speak to the people who are watching this right now and are like, I don't have that. I don't have that ability. Talk about how you can turn on your gifts by making a choice to look at what your pain has taught you. Talk about how that is the key to unlocking the connection with your gifts.
So every painful event, there's lessons in it. And that's why we're experiencing it. And a lot of the time it's like karmically related. So it's got a lot of energy. When you start healing from understanding and learning the lessons from those painful events, you're creating room. So think of your gift, and spirit communicates very subtly, actually. A lot of people think it's these vibrant images and you're like ripped out of this reality and it's so visceral. But a lot of the times it's very subtle, especially at the beginning. So not having the expectations of what it should feel like, because we all are different and we all receive information energetically differently. So literally making a declaration to yourself of being like, I am ready to perceive, acknowledge, and integrate my spiritual gifts. Because again, non-interference. You need to ask for the gifts back. And you need to prove that you're willing to commit. It's not just them happening with no work involved. So just because somebody is more in tune with it naturally doesn't mean they don't work on it. They have to work on it to be able to hone it and to be able to understand it. Otherwise, it doesn't evolve. So just because you don't have a natural gift, it doesn't mean you don't have them. And they're actually not, I mean, we call them gifts, but really they're just abilities that we all have as a human being. Some of us are just born with them turned on more, but it doesn't mean that we don't work on them daily to cultivate it.
That's the gift we give to ourselves. The gift we give to ourselves is the work we do to uphold the gift.
The proof, that's the energy exchange. You don't get anything for free.
Talk about that then. It's coming from a spiritual perspective, it's hard to accept that it's fair that nothing is for free. Talk about how that nothing is for free physical exchange is symbolic of the burden of that energy exchange. You need to give in order to receive, and that's the burden.
So a lot of people think that payment is only useful if it's something tangible, but your time is worth money. Your time is valuable. And not to disregard that. So just because you may not have a bank full of money doesn't mean you don't have value to give the world. Like you have skills. So learning how to take those natural skill sets that you have and integrating them into an abundant type thing. Like even content, I mean, if you have something knowledgeable to give the world, that is currency.
Right. Absolutely. So when it comes to something you learned from a relationship and the way in which you recognized after the fact how your mind could self-sabotage, talk about what fear you needed to address as to not repeat that cycle, allowing people access to you beyond the scope of what they have earned.
So I'm not saying not to go into with trust, but learning to recognize early on when there's not an even energy exchange, and taking those as signs that are just going to get worse because the person's probably trying really hard to cover them right now because it's early days. if you're feeling like left out or lonely or whatever in those early days, and they're not giving you the attention and the recognition unless it's something in it for them, like intimacy or in front of people or whatever, realizing that you're going to be okay alone. You're going to actually be better alone.
Talk about the quote that it's better to be alone than with someone that makes you feel like you are, in regard to being patient as the path unfolds.
So it brings me back to finding the joy in life again. Remember the time where relationships weren't everything to you. Filling your day with stuff that makes you happy and that puts you around people that are like-minded so that you have more success in eventually meeting somebody that is of your resonance.
Right. A time in your life when things took an unexpected, I kind of want to use the word catastrophic turn. Oh, there's a tower. Okay. Talk about the emotional center, like the room in your mind that you could go to refine that emotional center in the most turbulent time of your life.
It was problem solving and learning and like submersing myself in learning. So learning about spirituality, learning about, like I said, I loved forensics and I loved medical stuff. Like I wanted to be a doctor for the longest time. And so I would buy medical books, like medical textbooks, and I would just teach myself, even though I couldn't act on it, like in that professional capacity, didn't mean I still didn't want to know.
Yeah.
And so despite not exactly being able to reach my perfect goal, which was being a doctor or whatever, just not dismissing the experience altogether and still being able to get the knowledge from that.
Do you feel like sometimes spirit gives us bits and pieces of things, and in a way, what you talked about earlier, being here on a spiritual mission and then mixed in with certain interests that you have, would you say that there's some degree of spirit being like, well, you can be that. You can be someone who's like a spiritual doctor. Like you can bring a different scope of knowledge to something that you also enjoy.
Yes. And what I learned through that was I can teach doctors because they don't know what it's like being a patient. I'm a professional patient, literally. I have taught rooms of nursing students how to put in a catheter with just me lying down and me not looking. And I explained it in a way, like I said, I'm very gifted at articulating myself. And after there was the head nurse, which was her supervisor, kind of spying on through the door, she had this huge smile on her face. Like, that was amazing. She's like, you taught that like a freaking professional. Like, well, I am. I've been doing it since I was 8. And I had a surgeon too that reached out to me. She had a patient that just had her leg amputated through diabetes, and she was really depressed and she was not doing her exercises. I get a personal call from my surgeon on her cell phone, and she's like, I'm not supposed to be doing this. Could you visit this patient for me? I really feel like you could help her. And I just sat with her. I met with her. I let her speak. And she started doing her exercises the next day. So it was like realizing like, okay, yes, my expectation of my goal, again, the expectation is not going to be it. But I am that person my friends call when they're going through a physical traumatic event. They talk to me to give them a plan. How do I navigate this new world of being an advocate for myself in the medical world? Because no doctor is going to be the advocate for you. So accepting that, yes, my expectation is not going to be realistic, but look at what is realistic. And all my goal was I just wanted to help. So whatever form that comes in, I'm going to be happy with. So just having pure intentions. When your intentions are pure, then you stop worrying about how they come about and where the opportunities come from.
First thing that comes to mind straight from your higher self when I flip over this card. in regard to what you just said? Six of Cups.
Finding the joy like you did when you were a kid. Everything was so much simpler when you were a kid. It doesn't have to change. Society says it has to change, but it doesn't. It's just how you're perceiving it. We can learn a lot from the eyes of a child as being an adult.
So this is your childhood self then. I'm going to put a card here and a card here. This is, you said you've been being this professional patient since 8. So this is like, speak on something before that was the reality and something after. Before, we have 10 of Pentacles. After, 2 of Wands in reverse.
So before, I would say this is your boot camp and training. And the reward doesn't come before. But you're going to get these little sprinkles of reward through recognition and through seeing the joy on people when you help them in those moments. But your payout is waiting for you. And the more attentiveness and work you put in, the larger that reward is going to grow. So get comfortable with just letting it rest. What's yours is yours. It will always be yours. There's enough abundance for everybody. The one energy that's sustainable. Greed isn't.
Very true. 2 of Wands reversed for after that age.
Being able to look back and seeing how everything just was so, it all makes sense looking back from where I am now. I'm still looking and putting more plans into place, but now I have the confidence that it's all going to work because I can look back and remember how I wasn't sure before, but I did it anyway.
Right.
And I always just reminded myself, focus on the journey. Focus on the journey. It's all about the journey. It's not about the finish line. And then the finish came way quicker when I just forgot about it. Again, no longer fighting against the energy, flowing with it.
Okay, so we have 2 left. One at a time, what's something you would say to those watching in that respect? Like, when you stop focusing on the finish line, you can then enjoy the journey. Ace of Swords.
Have fun with the planning stages. There's so much fun in planning because you're going to explore and you're going to find new things that may light you up inside. Get excited about the planning stages because the more detail you make the plan, the better it's going to manifest.
And 7 of Wands.
You're not going to get stronger if you don't have a bit of pushback. So it's like you plateau at the gym. You don't want to plateau on this. You want to keep rising. So remind yourself every obstacle is you rising. It's an indication that things are changing to a different level. And in that change, it's a bit turbulent. So just recognize those struggles as a good sign. You're evolving and you're getting up higher. Gotten through all the other ones, you're going to get through this one and it's temporary. Just remember that.
If the audience could take one thing from your story, what would you hope that they take from it the most?
We are capable of anything that we put our mind to.
Yeah.
No matter what else life throws at you, or whatever.
And what's the final piece of advice that you would give them to embody that?
Start to get to know who you truly are. That's the most important relationship you'll ever have, is the one with yourself.
Absolutely. That was so good. Do you have any final word?
Just thank you. I'm so grateful that I can share my life with everybody, and that makes it not in vain. It makes it worth it.
Absolutely. I love that. Yeah. It gives you, well, you gave you your purpose back, and now you're sharing it in a way that can give everyone else theirs back too.
I remembered it, and I want everybody else to remember why they're here too. It's not to suffer.
Absolutely. Some lights are not born in safety. They are forged through loss, through fire, through every unchosen ending. And what rises from that kind of flame is not a polished story. It is a truth that flickers fierce in the dark, for every soul still finding its way back to life. Today, we witnessed one of those lights. Not a life that was handed to her, but a life she built, boldly, defiantly, from the ruins they thought would silence her. This was the reckoning of the light born from the ashes. And if you carry your own ashes or your own undone chapters, may this be your reminder. It's not too late to begin again. It's not too late to reclaim what was once unthinkable. The soul remembers how to rise, and your light is not too far gone to begin again. Thank you, Mandy. Thank you for showing us what is possible and reminding us that even in loss, there is still a life waiting to be claimed. Next week is my episode. I'm going to be interviewed by Bethany, and I have a couple other episodes excited after that to be lined up. Give me a little bit. I'm a little bit behind on putting up people's Humans for Humanity pages, but they should be mainly up next week. Give me about a week for Mandy's. The Humans for Humanity application is open to be on the podcast. Please take your time with it. I will start soon reaching out for season 2. Is on STAN.STORE/The Reckoning Co. You can find all of Mandy's socials and booking info below. And until next time, thank you everyone for watching.